Order, Town of Winslow, Maine, Town Council meeting, Monday, December 14th, 2020 at 7 p.m. Lisa, can I have a roll call, please?
Yes. Ben Twitchell?
Yes.
Jerry Clarion?
Yes.
Steve Russell? Patricia Ayer?
Yes.
Oh, good. Hi, Steve.
Hi, sorry.
Patricia Ayer? No. Jeff West?
Yes.
Lee Trahan?
Yes.
And Ray Karen?
Yes. If everybody could just rise and say the Pledge of Allegiance, please, that would be great. I pledge allegiance
To the flag
of the United States of America, to the
republic for which it stands,
one nation,
under God,
indivisible,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can I have a motion to accept the minutes of the previous meeting?
So moved.
So moved. Lisa, you got that?
Yes.
Okay. Can I have a roll call? Would be roll call at everything today, please?
Yes. Who was first and who was second?
I was first.
Thank you, Ben.
Yeah.
And second?
Jerry.
Go ahead, Jerry, take it.
Awesome. Roll call. Ben Twitchell?
Yes.
Jerry Clarion?
Yes.
Steve Russell?
Yes.
Jeff West?
Yes.
Lee Trahan?
Yes.
Ray Karen?
Yes.
And is Trish going to be with us tonight or not?
I believe she just signed on.
She's here. Okay. Trish, can you hear me?
I don't see her.
Okay.
She'll be on shortly. That's fine.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Communications today, library trustee appointment, Rebecca Hudson.
So moved.
So
Second.
moved by Jerry, second by Ben. I have we all got a letter to whom it may concern. Please be advised that the Winslow Library Board of Trustees is recommending the appointment of Rebecca Hudson to fill the vacant position on the board effective January 1st, 2001. And it's signed by all the Winslow Library Board of Trustees. So any other discussion on the appointment?
Can you hear me?
Now we can.
Okay.
Okay,
Now,
hi, I'm here.
hi, Trish. We're voting on right now the Winslow Library Board of Trustee nomination of Rebecca Hudson.
And ready for a roll call?
Yes, we are.
Ben Twitchell?
Yes.
Jerry Clarion?
Yes.
Steve Russell?
Yes.
Patricia Ayer?
Yes.
Jeff West?
Yes.
Lee Trahan?
Yes.
And Ray Karen?
Yes.
Passes.
Next
7-0.
order of business on the communications would be financial overview. Rayon.
So moved.
Kirsten Willett. Hank Farah, would you start your presentation for the audit, please?
All right, how's everybody doing today? Completely missing out on my Big G sandwich. So this has been pretty disappointing that I have to do this over Zoom because normally I have a half a Governor King in me by the time I start doing this presentation. So if I'm off a bit, it's because I don't have my Big G's.
Well, if you hurry, you can get over there and get one.
I don't think I can get up there in time. No, I think they're closed at 7.
All right.
All right, so I'm sharing my screen. Does everybody see the screen I'm sharing?
Yep.
Yeah.
Is it the right one? Because for some reason they got something weird on this other screen. All right. So we're going to go over some audit results today and then open it up to questions after I get through. The good news is not too much exciting for me to talk about. And again, I've always said that you never want me to show up and talk about anything exciting because we only give you bad news. We tell you everything that went wrong in the town, including the school. We don't tell you what went right. But I will say this was quite an odd year. I don't know if you guys noticed that 2020 has been a little bit weird all the way around. We had to handle the first part of our audit remotely. And we handled a big chunk of that between Paula and Tanya at the school in the town. And they did such a wonderful job, and everybody, all the staff helped out, got us a lot of information remotely. And we were asking for a lot of information, a lot of invoices, a lot of payroll information. I felt like I was on an apology tour in May and June because I was making people scan so many things. But we got through it all. And overall, everything went quite well. We did get to come visit during the back half of the audit when we were there in August. And we were slowed down because, again, everything in 2020 seems to have been slowed down, but certain things on the AICPA level, which is the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants, they were delayed with some report language that we needed to use. Normally I'd be come visiting you a little bit earlier. I think I'm normally up there in November to come talk to you, but we got delayed a month because of that. So hopefully you guys didn't miss me too much last month. And so we'll jump right into this. Financial statement opinion, unmodified. That's what you want. That's a clean opinion. Means everything is fairly stated in all material respects. We say fairly stated in all material respects because we do not audit 100% of the transactions. If we did, we would just work at the town. But I felt we got enough of a good sample size up there and enough audit evidence to render a clean opinion for the town. We also issue a few other reports. There's reports required by government auditing standards. That's where we take a look at your internal control over financial reporting and let you know if there's any sort of material weaknesses or significant deficiencies within that internal control structure. No material weaknesses, which is good. One significant deficiency, and it's not a major one, it's just because you rely on us to know all the accounting rules. I think governmental accounting might be the most complicated accounting out there. And you rely on us to just know all the ins and outs, and really a lot of the actuarial information that goes in there and a lot of those footnotes, just very complicated. And it's a lot easier to have your auditor just know those rules and pop those financial statements together for you guys. So nothing to be frightened about that you're relying on us to prepare those financials. That's what a lot of communities do throughout the state of Maine. We also issue reports required by the Uniform Guidance. Used to be called OMB Circular A133. And that's where we take a look at your federal dollars that are being spent and then test any programs that are deemed major. The major program this year was Title I. Tested that over at the school department. Happy to say, no findings. So overall, a very clean bill of health when it came to our audit work. I do want to mention about your federal awards that the town of Winslow receives a little over $1.6 million in federal funds in fiscal year 2020. Almost all of those are at the school. The town doesn't get too much on federal funding. Out of that 1.6 million, I think 1.58 of it is over at the school, and I think about 40 to 50,000 is on the town side. So let's talk about the financials. We're going to focus on the general fund. And whenever I say general fund, it's going to include the school operations. They're presented separately in the financial statements. And the school also issues its own set of financial statements. They're just in more detail than they are in the town financials, but all the numbers are the same between the two reports, I promise you. Fund balance for the town is broken up. We got it shown in 4 categories here, but they're really a couple more than that. But one is the non-spendable and committed. And non-spendable is just if you have inventory, it's non-spendable. Committed is made up of your reserve for sick pay, that's sick pay bank. Sick leave payout, that's around 48,000, but that's a very small sliver on there. And then we have unassigned, assigned, unassigned for the town, and unassigned for the school. Overall fund balance went up around 990,000 from the prior year, so almost went up $1 million, and we're going to talk a lot about that. The town side saw an increase of around 440,000, while the school saw an increase of almost 550,000. Now, assigned fund balance consists of plenty of other things. Consists of there's some sewer, some other appropriations, what you're carrying forward to the next period. So a detailed list of that can be found on page 33 of your financials. The biggest chunks in that assigned fund balance are you budgeted to use 700,000 of fund balance for your fiscal 21 budget. So that makes up part of that 1.6 million. You have 390,000 assigned for sewer. And then you set aside municipal solid waste reserve, and that's at around 419,000. So those are the biggest amounts that are in those assigned fund balances. And you can see unassigned for the town and the school both went up from the prior year. The school went from a deficit of a little over 700,000 to a deficit that's under 200,000 this year. So they made up a lot of ground, almost in the black at this point. But I do want to point out that unassigned school fund deficit includes the accrual for teacher summer salaries, which are amounts, because the teachers are done working at June 30. They fulfilled their contract, but they get paid through those summer months. Accounting standards require you to book that as a liability. So that liability is included, which puts that in the negative. The unassigned fund balance for the town went up around 600,000. I do want to point out that in last year's presentation, the budgeted use of surplus, which you guys budgeted to use around 914,000 for FY20, that was not put in the assigned. So if you take a look at last year's graphs, that 914,000 was actually part of your unassigned in this. So I corrected that this year, so you guys can see what the unassigned really should have looked like, because you assigned all that amount to FY20's budget. So what happened during the year? Well, first we're going to take a look at the revenue budget to actual. So overall, I want to point out, the first thing I want to point out is this utilization of prior year surplus. If you guys were the perfect budgeters, both town and school side, and everything came out to the money, you guys were on the money on everything, your fund balance would have went down by that $1,014,000. Actually increased by almost $1 million instead. So that's what I want to talk about. So we're going to talk about some of these large variances here. Taxes. You had better than expected tax collections for excise and regular taxes. And it was kind of up and down throughout the state. I think it all depended on due dates for property taxes in a lot of cases. Your due date was I believe March 5th was your third one. So that was kind of before the pandemic hit. And then you had enough collections in July and August to make up for anything that was missed at year end. And excise taxes went kind of smooth throughout. So, and there was you booked a bit of a receivable, nothing major, but since the governor decided to push the due date out for your taxes, excise taxes, anything that was collected in July and August were booked back as receivables for items that were due for those months for excise tax. So that's why you didn't see a hit taken on those. Intergovernmental came in over budget. You got more state education subsidy and state revenue sharing than anticipated. Charges for services, most of that increase above budget was due to increase in your sewer fees. So you collected more sewer than was originally budgeted. Investment earnings, they're unbudgeted at the school, which was 61,000. So that's what makes up almost all of that variance. And then other revenues. Big number here. We're talking 1 million. Now, if you remember, you thought you budgeted to sell the Crow Rope building in 2019. So that year came in under. And so this year now other revenues is over because you sold that portion of the Crow Rope building to Johnny Seeds, I believe. But you also had some rent collected for the first couple months of that year before you did sell the building. So you've seen a positive variance in not only sale of town-owned property, you also seen it in rental payments because those weren't expected because you thought, again, thought the sale was going to happen. You budgeted for the sale to happen in 2019. So that's where you're making up a gigantic chunk of that fund balance increase is just sitting in there in that other revenues portion. On the expenditure side, everything came in pretty close. Public Works over due to unexpected repairs and some ice control, exceeded projections on that. Other includes contingency and overlay. So if you don't use those full amounts, that kind of falls to a positive variance. And then education came in under budget. And I'm seeing this across the state as well because they were shut down for pretty much the last 2.5 months of the school year. Under budget, they had some savings in wages, special education, and some transportation costs, which all makes sense. Debt service came in under. That was budgeted before the issuance of the new debt, I believe. And so that's why you're seeing a variance there. That was also on the school side. And then transfer to other funds is a portion of what the school funds school lunch and where the general fund where you budget to put money in your capital improvement fund for capital projects. Unassigned fund balance as a percentage of budget, I think this is a really good tool to look at to kind of know where you're at. Again, I adjusted 2019 down to include where you had that assignment of fund balance. So you could see that from 2018 to 2019 took a big dip, and then you climb back up in 2020. The big dip's coming because of the budgeted use of fund balance. You guys didn't budget to use fund balance for multiple years there, and then budgeted to use $914,000 in 2020, which would affect that 2019 number. And then in 2020, budgeted to use $700,000 for that FY21 budget. So rating agencies are looking at, around 20% to have. RKO, we always recommend 12.5 to 16%, which is like 1.5 to 2 months on hand. Right now, you're sitting, and I like to compare it with just town only, and then including that school deficit. And you can see that they've really narrowed the gap because that deficit on the school side is down to only 171,000. So, but right now you're sitting at around 11% or 10.3%. When you're taking the school into account. So increases over the prior year, but that makes sense because your fund balance as a whole went up almost $1 million from the prior year. Next two slides, just kind of showing your general.
Hank, this is Ray Karen. I just want to reiterate with the fund balance is that you're saying that because of the crow rope sale, revenue sharing, and the less of a deficit at the school system, that the budgeted $700,000 out of the fund balance is actually a positive, that we're not going to use that money this year. Is that correct?
No, well, you kind of got to go back one other year. So you budgeted to use $914,000 in this year for FY20, what we're talking about, and the school budgeted to use $100,000. So you budgeted to use $1 million of fund balance in FY20. You gained $1 million instead. And a big chunk of that is selling the Crow Rope building, getting some extra rental payments on that Crow Rope building, revenue sharing, and the education subsidy coming in over, and then savings on the budget side on the school. So general fund revenue distribution, we just take a look at taxes versus intergovernmental, which is basically taxes are your local, that's your property taxes and excise taxes. Versus intergovernmental, which includes state revenue sharing, homestead exemption, Betty exemption, your local road from MDOT, those monies. And you can see it's held pretty steady at the town. 2016, you're at 52.21%. 2020, you're at 52.222%. So you went up 0.01% difference in those between those 5 years. Intergovernmental went down a bit, but I think it's not that the monies went down, it's the collections of other revenues that have gone up. A lot more of the other revenue in FY20 because, again, the sell that Crow Rope building, they gained a lot of funding in that portion. Now, when we take a look at school only, you can see a pretty big change. Now granted, you got to look at the scale. So I think the scale on it makes it look a little bit bigger than it is. But between 2016 and 2020, you're looking at almost a 3% increase, relying on local. And then on intergovernmental, you'll see it was around 48.42 cents in 2016, down to 45.74. You see a drastic decrease in that intergovernmental in 2019 and 2020 because of other types of revenues that the school was gathering those years. They have a lot of shared services that they get reimbursed for, which are marked down as revenue. But I do want to point out, I got some numbers written down here that aren't on here that I kind of want to go over to point out the increase in local appropriation for the school. In FY19, you saw an increase of your local appropriation to the school of $600,000 and then another $800,000 in FY20. So over the prior 2 years, there's been an increase of $1.4 million in your local appropriation for education. On the intergovernmental side, we saw a $300,000 increase in FY20 and a $250,000 increase in FY19 for a total of $550,000 increase over those 2 years. So local went up 1.4 million, state funding went up only 550. So that's why you're seeing the one bar graph go up and the other bar graph go down. Also FY19, I wanted to point out, had that payout when the AOS 92 dissolved. and then you got a withdrawal payment for that. That was recognized in FY19. So these next two graphs, I'm going to kind of flip back and forth. So it's a pie chart comparing 2020 to 2019. And you're going to see there's really not a lot of difference. But education, you'll see, went from 61.97 down to 59.71. Now, it's kind of tricky, though, because you'll see this debt service piece of the pie over here went from 3.9 to 5.4. So basically, most of that debt service increase was that education. It's the new bond that you're paying. So even though education as a whole chunk went down, really the increase kind of went to that debt service, which is still education related. So I think the pie stayed the same. The only other fairly large increase was protection, went from 6.25% up to about 6.9. So you're looking at 0.75% increase there. A big chunk of that was just mostly fire department. And I want to, if you guys, for those of you who love to read the financial statements, a lot more information is on Exhibit A2, which are pages 56 to 59. And you will see all your budget to actuals in much more detail than what we show in here. It shows you a comparison to prior year, so you could see the differences between what you collected last year and this year and what you spent last year and this year. And the same thing in the school financials. They have an Exhibit A2, and it's on page 16 of their financials. And if you want to look at these revenues and expenditures in more detail, I would really suggest checking out those pages in the financial statements, because they're very descriptive, and you get a really good look at what makes up all those balances, especially in those revenue and expenditure tables I showed you before. It breaks everything down. Protection, it'll show you police, fire, emergency, all in those financial statements. So very much suggest checking those out. And last but not least, the school lunch has been running a deficit for a while now, and that can put a hurting on your cash flow. But you can see that school lunch went from a $208,000 deficit to a $96,000 deficit over this last year. The biggest reason, it's not like they had a magical formula. Well, wasn't a magical formula for FY20, but when school closed, everybody started going off the summer food program. And the summer food program had much larger reimbursement rates than the regular school lunch program. I've seen this around the state where just the collections for that federal monies for school lunch, because it pretty much everybody was just giving out free lunches over those time periods, but you're getting reimbursed at a much higher rate than what you normally do for free lunches when you're serving them in school. So that extra revenue helped knock down this deficit. So good things that happened because of that. If I'm going to pick like a silver lining of 2020, I'd say is that collection rates to really knock down that deficit in that school lunch account. So that's all I have for graphs. And I'll be glad to flip to any graph if anybody's got any specific questions about anything, and try to walk you through whatever or give you all the answers you need.
No, thank you very much, Hank. I don't think, does anybody have any questions for Hank at this point in time?
I just want to say thank you, Hank. You've taken a very dry subject and made it actually something for everybody. So I appreciate that.
I could not hear you, Erica. You were coming in very low.
I'm so sorry. Can you hear me now?
A little bit better.
I don't know why you can't, but anyway, because I'm leaning into my computer, I just wanted to say thank you for taking a very dry subject and making it somewhat interesting for everybody. It's not easy to present financial reports and, have people actually pay attention.
Yeah, it's never that easy, but before, I want to say thank you to the staff, both on the town and school side. And I kind of started out that way. This has been a rough year for everybody. And auditing, it's not like the audits were ever going to stop, and if anything, there should be more due diligence when you're going through something like this, because, the controls could easily break down during the processes that happened in 2020. And I want to let everybody know that we did our sample sizes where we picked portions of the sample size before COVID and after COVID to make sure things were still being handled properly at both the town and the school. So that was one thing we made sure we did. And I'll say both Tanya and Paula and everybody else who helped out on the town and school side did a wonderful job. We really didn't miss a beat with this audit, which I thought was pretty amazing because, like I said, a lot of struggles, a lot of just craziness and just accessibility this year. It just caused problems, but didn't really have any issues on either side. So we still got this done in a timely fashion. I'm glad I could come up and present in December, and I wanted to thank everybody. And I guess if no one else has any questions, I'm gonna go feel sad about not having big G's, but you know, I think I still had a pretty good meeting with everybody.
Yeah, thank you very much. You know, I was expecting a lot of gloom and doom tonight, but I think overall it was a very positive type of setting and sets us up for at least some type of a better budget season than I anticipated for this coming spring.
I think the only thing, and I don't know for certain because I don't have any numbers, but my big thing is I think, you know, a lot of places I've seen in FY20, especially schools, had savings this year because of the shutdowns. What I think is going to happen, though, is I'd caution everybody because I'd be worried about state revenue sharing and state education subsidy in FY22 because we don't know what kind of taxes are going to roll in. You know, everything's been hit here. Hospitality, you know, all those taxes have to be down. They have to be. So, you know, I would caution. The one thing is those numbers aren't out yet, but, you know, I can't see how they're not going to take a hit after what we've gone through and the lack of tourism and the lack of people going out and eating and things like that. So no gloom and doom this year for these financials, but I'm going to be very curious how FY22 turns out, not 21.
Yeah, but if I look at your report today, you know, we had the potential to start $1 million in the hole.
Mm-hmm.
And right now, because of revenues and sales of town-owned property, some revenue sharing, we've pretty much negated that hole that we would have now in starting off, and you know, at least compounded with revenue sharing and school subsidies. We know they're going to be less, but at least we're not compounded by $1 million deficit starting off in the process.
Nope. Agreed.
If we don't have anything else, I think we're all set, Hank. Thank you very much.
All right. Thanks for having me. Have a great rest of your meeting.
Okay.
See you, Rocky.
Moving on to reports of committees and commissions, the town manager's report, please.
Can't hear you, Erica.
So again, my report,
Can anybody else hear Erica, or am I the only
Erica,
one?
your
No.
microphone's not working.
I can't hear.
I can't hear you.
It comes in and out.
I can't hear her either.
You want to come here, and I can leave?
strange, I'm not sure what.
Erica, if you're in a hotel, you may be having bandwidth problems. If you turn off your video, we may be able to hear you better. I've had that problem with clients in the past.
Kate, she's at the town office.
Well, that won't work. Maybe not.
I know.
Says somebody else is using my microphone, that's why.
No problem. What we're gonna do is we're gonna go on to department head reports, and then we'll come back when Erica has that fixed. I know that Erica had asked the department heads to come in and just give an update of where the town situation stands now. And if we could do first, Lisa, could you give a little example of what's happening in the front office?
Absolutely. We actually had a meeting today to talk with our staff in the front office. They are doing a great job keeping up with transactions. People are either calling the office or emailing, and they're all able to keep up with everything. If somebody needs a receipt, we're mailing those out to residents, keeping up with motor vehicle registrations. We have a lot of services that are available online. So if you need to re-register your car or a snowmobile, ATV, that can all be done online. Dog licenses we can do through the mail or at our Dropbox, and as well as new vehicle registrations. Those can also be done through the Dropbox. So it's business as usual. It's a little different, but they're all getting it done and they're doing a great job.
Thank you very much, Lisa. Judy, could you give an update on the assessing?
Sure can. Fortunately, it's a quiet time for the assessor's office, so we typically dig into projects. And this is probably the best time to have started digging into actually digitizing most of our records in the office as we speak. A lot of the business that we do conduct and have been conducting is digital. It's requests for deed copies or map copies, and we've got the tools to do that. Everything else is phone calls. I'll meet somebody outside if I have to, but I have stopped actually going to a home to pick up new construction. It's just not safe. And I will probably be using more correspondence through postage as the spring comes around. So I think we've kind of acclimated ourselves to how to conduct business at this point. So it's really going smoothly for our office.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Judy. Paul, Public Works?
Right now, Public Works, what we've split the crew up in two. I've taken over the other part of the Parks and Rec department at the other end. So we've set up 2 break rooms with half a crew at each end. We've got them a fridge, a microwave, coffee maker. So that's basically where they're going to spend the winter. So we're trying to keep the crews working as much as possible, one crew separate from the other. It's not perfect, but it's as best as we can do. I think we've got them as well separated as we can, and we'll carry on until hopefully nobody gets ill. And you'll see later on, we're also doing some work trying to get mutual aid with different communities in case something does happen. So that's about where we are right now.
So Paul, that mutual aid, in case there's an outbreak at your office, that Waterville would come over and help us with the streets?
Correct. That would be like Waterville, Fairfield, Oakland, get some assistance. Or vice versa if we go there. So that's just something we're trying to be proactive. Hopefully we don't have to do anything, but at least, unfortunately, unlike say fire mutual aid, where the chance of having 2 big fires in 2 communities together is rare. If it snows, it's going to snow everywhere. So we'll do the best we can to help each other out.
Okay. Is that it, Paul?
Oh,
It is. Yes.
this is Jerry. Question I have, do we have a mechanic at each of those locations in the break rooms?
Yes, we do.
That's all.
Okay, moving on, Lisa, library.
Hi, all. Well, we've established curbside pickup 5 days a week. And so patrons can request materials either through the catalog, via email or phone call. We're also doing a lot of reference questions through the catalog or email. Patrons seem to be very comfortable using our curbside pickup. We've been very busy since we started. And they seem to be happy with some of the online and take-home programming we've been doing. We did our winter workshop as a socially distanced event a few weeks ago, and we had 70 people participate. all safely. All, what we did is we bagged up different kinds of crafts, goodies, some little things. They'd come to the door, we'd leave them on the book drop, they'd take them home, and we got a lot of very positive feedback on that. So overall, the patrons seem to be adapting very well. The only negative thing we've had recently is we got a little storm damage from the last big windstorm. The siding blew off the part of the Quonset hut that's behind the heating units on the roof. But that's been covered over now, and I'm working to get some quotes and working with the insurance company. So thank you for Paul for helping out with that. But overall, the patrons have been wonderful. The girls working at the library have been wonderful. We're just very blessed.
Okay, thank you very much, Lisa. Amanda, Park and Rec?
Question of Lisa.
Yep.
Yeah, which insurance company? Is that the one through Maine Municipal?
Yes, it is. I filed a claim, and I already talked to the adjuster, and we're just basically, he came and looked at everything, and I'm just waiting to get some quotes, and then we'll go, I'll send those off to the Maine Municipal again, and we'll go from there.
Amanda, Park and Rec, please.
Hey there. So Parks and Rec obviously is inherently a social department. So we've had to get very creative. If anyone has seen me in an elf costume around town at residents' houses, I'm doing pickups for our Caring campaign. It's our 3rd year doing it. We raise food and funds for the school's food pantry. Residents have been great about calling me up. I've been picking them up doorstop with masks on. They leave it on the doorstop. We also are looking at some virtual programming. The rec center is closed by appointment only, and everyone's been really respectful of that. I was hoping to start some type of programming in January, but looking at the numbers and the direction that's heading and wanting to support the school and keeping kids in cohorts, I don't anticipate starting in-person programming in January. We're looking at doing some social distancing scavenger hunts this winter, some snowman contests, and trying to think outside the box in terms of rec. Right now, I'm the only person in the department, so I don't have to worry about infecting anybody or staying socially distanced from my immediate coworkers. And that's it.
Okay, thank you very much, Amanda. Chief Rodriguez, Fire Department.
Oh, good evening. We're doing pretty good. We just received a huge supply of PPE. I mandated probably, 2 weeks ago that we would close the department down to outside guests to limit the spread. We, as we respond, we treat every patient in every circumstance as though it's a positive COVID. We're wearing our masks, our eye protection, gloves, and if necessary, after the pre-screening at the door, we will gown up. So we're doing very proactive measures to keep our members safe, because if we get one down, that's a shift, and that would be detrimental to us. Part of our PPE supply took the initiative and ordered, and we have received a Victor electrostatic sprayer, which helps decontaminate the back of the medic unit. And some good news, again, we submitted the COVID reimbursement grant to FEMA, and that has been processed, and we're waiting to hear the positive news from that. But they would not have moved forward with it if it was not a positive, if they didn't think it was going to be a positive result. So fire department's doing very well. Thank you.
Ronnie, how do you like the new trucks?
I love them. Thank you very much. They're fantastic. Thank you. They've been, oh, and by the way, they've all been taken to rust check and had the undercoating already applied.
Okay, thank you very much, Chief.
One question, please, Rick.
Yep. Sure.
Is the new ladder in service yet, Chief, or are we still on hold with that?
It is not in service yet because we had to wait for some parts to build out the compartments to move the equipment from the old ladder truck to the new one. But it is, everybody's had their training, and we're just waiting to get the appropriate shelving equipment to place the equipment on there safely.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Jeff. Adam Coates. I'm not sure Adam's on.
Hello.
Oh, Adam.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yep, we can.
Okay. Yeah. Everything's going quite well in the code enforcement office. We're able to utilize permits electronically, so it's pretty much business as usual. Haven't had too many problems or issues with doing it that way. Permits have slowed down, but it is winter, so that's expected. But beyond that, everything is going good. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much, Adam, for that. We're going to go back now to the, I think we've hit every department. If we can go back to the town manager's report, we'll see if she's.
You haven't hit the police department.
Oh, I am very sorry. Sorry about that. Thanks, Ben. Chief McCade?
Evening, how's everybody doing? Yes, things are going well with us also. In the report I submitted, I talked about we're still waiting for reimbursement for a couple grants at this point. I hope to be coming in shortly also. We're wrapping up the hiring process. Hopefully it'll be done within a month. And we've all completed our end of the year training. We had some concerning news today about 2 employees here who might have had contact with COVID-19. They've both taken the test and we're just waiting for results. And one employee had contact with quite a few of us. Nobody else has shown any symptoms, but we're just waiting at this point. But other than that, things are going well.
Thank you very much, Chief. And again, from the whole town and from the staff here, welcome aboard. And I'm sure you guys are busy and going through a trying time in the next couple months. But
Hey, Ray.
go ahead, Jeff.
Ray, how about school department?
I can see if they're there. Peter Tibitot, are you in today?
I am in.
Okay.
Yeah, your teachers continue to work extremely hard at educating your students, whether that be remotely or in person. Unfortunately, right now we have both the high school and the junior high who are in remote learning due to an incident that took place last week. Unfortunately, because of FERPA, I cannot disclose a lot of information, which is very frustrating to me. But I can tell you that the transmissions are not happening at school. Due to the protocols that we have in place, unfortunately, the transmissions are happening into the community and also being brought into the schools. I hear a lot of you talking about grants through COVID money. We also have benefited from some of that money. There's a very strict timeline in terms of when you had to spend it and have everything invoiced and right there. All had to be things that were not budget related, things that were related to COVID. So things such as outdoor classrooms or let's say you can't have a regular gym class and you didn't have cross-country skis, you could purchase cross-country skis to get the kids outside for gym, for alternative activities, those types of things. So we've put a lot of energy in that, mostly from laptops, Chromebooks, in order to be able to make that happen. I'm very fortunate. We've purchased 3 school buses with this money, which is going to be a great help to us. So we've been able to do that on a really fast track. So a lot is happening. We continue to look at different scenarios on a daily basis in terms of who we need to isolate and quarantine if we need to. Sometimes it's just a few students. Sometimes it's more than a few. But it's been a very trying year, and we continue to get through it. And I'm very proud of the educators for providing the education that they're providing to your children under these circumstances.
Peter, I got one question for you. Peter?
I'm here, Ben.
Okay. Somebody asked me the enrollment that you have this year compared to last year, as far as the numbers go.
1,027, about 50 less than we had last year. And the reason for that, Ben, is because some of the kids are gone to homeschooling because of the concern of COVID-19. Having said that, this is a statewide issue. Almost every school is reporting a lower enrollment from the October counts, and this is something that the state is going to need to look at They're having conversations about how they can look at the formula for that. But every single school is going to be in that situation.
Thank you, Peter.
You're welcome.
Peter, on sixth grade and the daycare, how is that going?
Home run, Jerry. Absolute home run. When we had to go remote with the junior high and the high school, it's because we have some shared space. The individual who tested positive, we weren't told about that individual until after the kids were in school. So it was way too difficult for us to do contact tracing and be 100% positive on every individual. So the safest thing to do with the CDC recommendations was to go remote for the quarantine period of time. Having said that, because of our sixth grade is in a separate building, totally isolated, so they continue to operate, no issues whatsoever. Same with the daycare. So both of those things work exactly like we wanted them to work. So it's going exceptionally well.
Any other questions for Peter?
By the way, that's another one of those situations where we use some of this COVID money to be able to pay for the heat. It's not out of the regular budget because we didn't have any money to do that.
Any other questions for Peter? If no questions for Peter, Erica, could you try again?
Can you hear me now? I'm echoing through Ray's, so I'm guessing you can. So what I was trying to say the first time is we've survived that first snowstorm. After 7 years in the South, I did not kill myself that first night, so big kudos to myself. But I did want to say thank you to our public works guys, our fire guys, and our police guys, because it was a pretty hefty storm for the first one of the year, and everybody did a great job. Nothing but good reports from outside. So good job, everybody. Tell your crews what a great job they did. I'm pretty sure I told most of you already, but it doesn't hurt to reiterate that. Obviously, we're still closed due to COVID. And Lisa already pretty much told you how we're making sure residents get addressed, all of their concerns, and making sure that everybody can get access to the services they need. Nobody's being told that they can't pay their tax bill or they can't register their vehicle or that they can't get a dog license. Everybody is being taken care of. So I did find out today that part of the reason people may have thought that is because apparently Sunday before this last, the paper printed that we were all working remote, which clearly we are not. So I have asked, I've asked the editor to put a correction in the paper and make sure everybody knows we are actually here. We're coming in every day. That said, we've got some challenges. As Chief McDade indicated, we've got a staff member down there with a potential contact. We also have one up here in our offices with a potential contact. The thing is, the timing of those contacts kind of means if there was an exposure, kind of the damage has been done. At least we're keeping it within a small group of people. So we'll wait to see what those COVID tests come back with and have people test further if necessary. You know, fingers crossed that things come back okay. But it just points out how real this is right now and how many people are getting infected. It's coming closer and closer to home every day. So we do need to remain vigilant about keeping those masks on and keeping socially distanced and limiting our contact with the public. And it's a particular challenge for our people trying to make sure that the public is served. So if you see those three ladies who work up in the front office, please give them your thanks. They deserve it. They've been running pretty hard to make sure everybody's taken care of. I also wanted to point out real quickly our town tree in the gazebo. It's a pretty, quick effort this year. We didn't think of it too soon, but just something to try and help lift everybody's spirits. We don't have a whole lot of holiday spirit going on right now. So just something to try, but that was a joint effort between Amanda McCaslin and Judy Mathau. Judy provided the tree and also all of the greenery that's around our sign out front. So I want to thank both of them for making that happen. It turned out really pretty. And next year, I hope we can do something even bigger out there. So on to the other thing, I wanted to tell you guys real quick about where we are on the sale of our properties. We do have multiple properties up for sale right now. Currently, Minnow Lane has got an active offer on it. I also have an active offer on Clinton Avenue. Clinton's low, so we're going to counter on that one, but the one for Minnow Lane is a full price offer. So if we get that one in at 40,000 and we can come in at about 50,000 on Clinton Avenue, that's a nice little extra bit of money we weren't expecting. 55 Ellis Road will also be going up, although there is, that one unfortunately will be well below its assessment value just because the condition of the house that's on it is pretty poor, but still it will be well above what is owed in the back taxes. Maple Ridge Farm bid is out there. That will close on the 29th of December. That's a little bit longer for a bid to be out there than usual, but the reasoning behind that is people are going to have a lot of questions about that Maine Farmland Trust issue, and we need to give them time to actually contact the Maine Farmland Trust and find out if they're even eligible to bid on the property. So put that out there a little bit longer at 3 weeks instead of 2. Again, the minimum bid on that's $85,000. So hopefully things come in on that and we see more than the 85. There has been a lot of interest in it. I'm just not 100% sure how much of it is interest that meets the requirements of the Maine Farmland Trust. We do have the paperwork written up for the China Road lots that we're going over to Tom Davis and Betty Ann Davis. Just waiting on their final signature and them to pay their fees, and we'll transfer it over. That will be another $12,000. And we have some interest in a property that was up for sale that we couldn't sell, which is South Reynolds Road, Lot 3H. Apparently sales fell through on that for 3 times. So right now we've gotten a butter who's interested, so we may be able to at least recoup the back taxes on the property, even though we weren't able to sell it for any extra on that point. It would be good to just be able to get something out of it so it's off of our books. We'll see what happens there. The only bad news I really have on the property sales is Bellevue Road Lot 7. We can't sell it. It's been the town's for a long time. That's not a tax acquired property, but unfortunately the deed from 1951 says that we can only use it as a public park, and therefore we cannot really sell it at this point. I do have Bill Lee looking into whether we can have the deed amended to see how much that would cost and if it's even worth it to do. So we'll look into that more down the road, but right now it is not going up to market. So it's kind of a dead issue at the moment. The Orion Rope Works building, that continues to be in progress. We have a meeting on Thursday with the gentleman from Orion Rope Works to talk about what their proposal is going to be. We've also had some further interest finally from Johnny Seeds. Dave Melhorn finally contacted me on Friday, said he never got my email about it. So I'll be talking with him as well and seeing what his ideas are. Just so I'm on record as saying this though, and I have said this to Dave Melhorn, I want both businesses to stay, not interested in doing anything that's going to cause one or the other business to leave. I think we need both of them in town. We do have some vehicles going up for sale. We're just we've got to wait for the ladder truck to go up because of course, until we get that new one in service, we kind of need the old one. So that will go up as well as our rescue. Selling the rescue, that's due to having the ambulance service, and we need to have that extra bay in preparation for completing out the original proposal to get a second ambulance. So both of those will be going up to public auction, and we anticipate after talking to the auctioneer that we should be getting some fair amount of money back on those. Hopefully at least 100,000 between the two of them, but probably more. Project updates, Benton Avenue Storm Sewer, that closes, the bid opening will be this week. So we're going to be moving forward on that. Hopefully we'll end up with one contractor on both our portion of the project and the water districts, but we may not. We have been promised by Wright Pierce that they can coordinate the engineering such that we shouldn't have any problems if we do end up with 2 contractors, but obviously in an ideal world it would be just one. And Chaffee Brook Pump Station, you'll see that we do have an order up on that one. We are continuing through the permitting process. We did have the archaeological survey come back and find evidence of a potential site, so we're going to have to do a phase 2 study on that, which is unfortunate, but it is what it is. It's one little spot out of all the spots they dug showed that we could have something there. Anticipated cost on that's going to be $11,893. The survey for the sturgeon, the bathymetric survey, that was completed. So there's not going to be any more to go on that. But this final stage of permitting is the one you have the order for in front of you tonight. That's $58,000. It is part of the original $5 million project. So I just want everybody to understand we're not asking for $58,000 in additional money. The order is out there to allow me to actually tell them to move forward and that we can pay for that when the bill comes in. Other than that, we've just got some discussion items coming up this evening, which all of you would have seen. And that's pretty much all I've got for you right now.
Erica.
Yes, Jerry.
When is the bid opening on for Soaring Water on Benton Avenue?
11 o'clock Friday morning.
Is that open to the public, or are we going to do a Zoom?
It's going to be Zoom, and it will only be the contractors that have bid on the project, as well as Wright Pierce and ourselves over here. It will either be Paul and I, or it will be Paul and Lisa. I also have a home closing coming up on Friday, and I'm not sure exactly what time it's going to be. So there is a possibility I will not be able to be present.
I'm all set.
Erica, on the Orion building, any word back from Caldwell Banker?
Don has said that pretty much he's been working with the broker for Orion for the most part. Johnny's did reach out to him. And again, Johnny's reached out to me the same day. So that's pretty much where we're at on that right now. We haven't had any other firm interest at this point.
Okay, I just didn't know if that gentleman that had made the original offer was still, because Don was going to check into that, see if he might still be interested.
Correct.
So.
He has not given me any further information on that, so I don't think he's got that.
Okay, thank you.
It's, Chief Rodriguez, is your hand actually raised? It is. Do you want to recognize?
Mr. Chairman, I appreciate the quick second. I failed to mention that tomorrow the Reads Across America caravan will be coming through the town of Winslow, and we'll be stopping at the Veterans Memorial off Roderick Road. And I just wanted to make sure that I've put it out on the Facebook page. I know the police department has done the same, and I know it's been shared quite extensively. I just wanted to make sure that I mentioned it here. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You all set, Erica?
I am.
If there's no.
Excuse me, Ray?
Yes, go ahead, Jeff.
Just a question for Chief McDade. Do you have a contingency plan if something is to go south downstairs?
Well, we should know more this week. Of course, we work closely with other police departments. I don't think it'll get to that point, but if it does, then we have to contact other police departments.
Okay, I assume that's the route we'd go, but okay, thank you, sir.
Yes, thank you.
If there's no further questions, we'll move on to the public comment period. The public comment period is we advertise that if somebody had a public comment that they wanted to read over tonight's meeting, that it would be submitted by 12 noon today. There were 5 public comments, and I'll read them in order that they were received. The first one is from Ken Fletcher on the Garlett Road. Please provide the following information when order number 27-2020 is considered for the second ambulance. Is a reason to purchase a second ambulance because a backup ambulance is needed if the existing ambulance is out of service because of maintenance? Second question, during the last 5 months, how many times and for what total duration has a Winslow Fire Department ambulance been out of service due to maintenance? Excuse me. Question number 3, from July to October, the Winslow Fire Department monthly report identified a total of 30 instances where Delta was required to provide mutual aid. How many of these instances were because the Winslow Fire Department ambulance was out of service due to maintenance? Question 4, what will be the source of funds used to furnish the $70,000 plus requested to purchase a second ambulance net gains from the ambulance transport service account or other. Question 5, when will there be space to store the second ambulance in the existing fire department structure? Question 6, considering that a 6-month review of the Winslow Fire Department ambulance service results in plan for the January 2021 council meeting, why is it necessary to proceed with the purchase of a second ambulance now? I think we'll address that during the ordinance coming up for the second ambulance. Second public comment is from Marcia Stenson on Marie Street. We, as well as other abutters and residents of the neighborhood, continue to have opposition to a business being placed in this high residential area. We have repeatedly voiced our concerns and opposition. We have asked many questions without clear and full answers. The understanding the residents walked away with at the October 1st workshop was the contracted area would be for one garage and one piece of equipment to warm up in the winter. But the contract does not place that limit. It leaves it open to multiple heavy equipment vehicles entering and exiting through the neighborhood year-round. We have also asked how large the building could be, meeting the town setbacks. The strictest state statutes were required in most current DEP land use regulations, yet have not received an answer. More questions residents would like to clarify are what will be required to be in place for noise control, dust control. Will the road driveway right away be required to be paved? Where is the visual buffer to be placed? Much seems to be determined due to no actual building plans being submitted. Same as to the question of what the tax base of this project will bring that has previously been asked. While it may not be a required for the town to inform residents if the stricter statutes are not being followed, as the towns do not have to play the resident's lawyer, the fact remains the code enforcement officer is required by law to follow stricter state statutes where applicable. Just as public information and notices have legal requirements. While some may feel once a council passes an ordinance should not matter, in that it is easier to stick a notice on a town bulletin board than when you want, just push something through. This attitude or thought process, if you will, is not in the best interest of the residents of this town or town in general. After the last meeting, I, Marcia, was told by a council member to follow the chain of command and to check my facts before submitting any further information to the council. First off, I am not in the military and know of no chain of command a resident of the town is required to follow. Secondly, I do not believe I have personally given any incorrect facts. I have given my opinions, asked questions, expressed concerns, and repeated information I can validate, substantiate in written form and by personal witness. We would like to know how this project fits into the town comprehensive plan and are hoping for a conversation in the open discussion forum to occur to help answer the many questions residents have at the initial reading of this ordinance. There was close to no discussion. And if this ordinance is tabled at this meeting, we request the same in any following meeting discussions. Thank you, Marcia Stenson and Michael Cater, 28 Marie Street, Winslow, Maine. Got another one from Adam first. Again, on the Marie Street, from Adam Morse on Lessard Street. Hi, my name is Adam Morse. I own a home on Lessard Street. I am writing you today to inform the council that I'm 100% against building a garage business at the end of Lee Street that could join to Marie Street. This is residential zone area and should stay that way. I do not want a business or contracted business to exist there. It would mean excessive noise, traffic lights, and in general, devalue the surrounding properties. I am the head custodian at the Winslow Elementary School. I personally see and hear Steve or employees using the equipment on the old Modernist parking lot. The loaders, bobcats, and trucks all have loud backup sensors. I can hear them while inside and outside the school. I know how loud this equipment is day and night and do not want to even close in my residential area. Please don't allow this to pass. Thank you for your time, Adam Morse. The next one again is on the Marie Street issue, Benjamin Stafford on Lee Street. Below are my public comments for the town council meeting for December 14th, 2020. Ben Stafford, resident of Lee Street, speaking in opposition to the rezoning of the area around Dunbar Acres. The purpose of zoning and public planning is to serve the community and the public good. Changing the zone of the area in and around Dunbar Acres does not meet this standard and only serves the interests of a selected few. There has been no legitimate justification made by changing the zoning from residential, nor how this would be in the public interest. There has been a lack of transparency in this matter, and this lack is either the result of mismanagement or it is by design to minimize public input and scrutiny. Either way, rezoning the area is inappropriate and by any reasonable standard should not be allowed. The argument has been made that because the surrounding area is already zoned mixed use, in this area should be as well. By this logic, nearly the entire town could be rezoned as such, which I can't imagine would be a decision any reasonable person would be in favor of. This area has been zoned residential for decades. The current owner and tenant knew this prior and should have not assumed that they can have it changed simply because it's inconvenient for them. There are still no questions. There are still no guarantees the petitioners will follow through in their stated intentions for the property or what could happen in the future. There are far too many uncertainties here that would adversely affect a great number of people who already live in the area and whose rights are no less than those who want to enter the neighborhood only to change it. With this in mind, I can see no other reasonable decision for the council to make other than to reject this request. To do otherwise would be and to show favoritism and or a lack of respect for those who already live in the neighborhood. At the very least, this issue deserves more public input, debate, and transparency. Respectfully submitted, Benjamin Stafford. Excuse me. And the last public comment is from James Mosher. The COVID storyline continues to unfold. Many are waking up to the ramifications of government sifting the discriminatory bureaucracy. Assessment of essential versus non-essential has been a death blow for business and families. Despite near full compliance with the governor's dictates, months of sheltering and shuttering have not been enough to flatten the curve. Thwarted Thanksgiving gatherings restrictions have accumulated in a new COVID spike. Those anti-maskers. Is it possible that after decades of complacency, somewhere around the March of this year, we entered a twilight zone? How is that dispute almost full compliance with the governor's mask mandate? Coronavirus continues to spread like wildfire. How is it that a person who self-identifies as just wanting to breathe unadulterated oxygen has become a pariah almost overnight? How is it that restrooms can be utilized for public urination and defecation and unrestricted respiration to verboten? Could it be that we are being complete? Does anybody see a pattern here? All of the aforementioned forms of population control. Under the Mills economy, refusal to tone a face diaper has become a malevolent act, while sofa clamps, suction catheters dismember the bodies of roughly 5 babies per day in Maine. Since March of this year, 1,350 lives have been purposely expunged. Meanwhile, the COVID death toll is 259. Grammy and Grandpa can be held to slaughter when the burden of care becomes too great. But we must shut down schools, sanctuaries, and commerce to constrain corona. Last month, the Portland Herald declared Maine harboring haven for homosexuals. The celebration of indiscriminate redaction for inappropriate content is nothing new. Contemporary culture has been doing so for decades. As a heterosexual dad of 4, I have had occasion to participate in the annual pride rituals, so I may stand corrected on this one. But I have never seen a designated table for Purell pumpers and mass pushers covered by the press at these carnivals. Only mantra of inclusivity and coexistence. Not too long ago, commoners would have shunned child sacrifice, family killing of matriarch patriots, and fortification of both faiths. There is a way forward out of this madness. Embrace truth, take responsibility, seize initiative, eradicate death, and lend a hand. Dependency on so-called experts is suicide. The scriptures emphatically warn against following them is a fool's errand. This month, Christians across the world commemorate a great event, the incarnation of Emmanuel. He was in the world, and the world has made him through him, and the world did not know him. He came to his own, and those who were his own did not receive him. Merry Christmas, James Mosher. If there's no other public comment, go ahead, Lisa.
I was just going to say, can we have a motion to approve all of the boards and committee reports?
Yep, we can.
So move.
Second.
And who's second?
Second.
Thank
Ben
you,
second.
Ben. And go ahead and do the roll call.
Yep, go ahead, Lisa.
Thank you. Ben Twitchell,
Yes.
Gary Quirian,
Yeah.
Steve Russell,
Yes.
Patricia Ayer,
Yes.
Jeff West,
Yes.
Lee Trahan,
Yes.
and Ray Karen.
Yes,
Passes 7-0. Thank you.
thank you. Moving forward with table business, ordinance number 7-2020. An amendment to the Winslow zoning map to rezone a portion of a lot owned by C&L Real Estate on tax map 13, lot 115 from the high density residential zone, HDR, to contract zone high density residential zone. The portion of the lot is described as lot 87, 88, 89 in Dunbar Acres subdivision and recorded in the Kennebec County Registry of Deeds on September 22nd, 1961 in book 24 page. It's now table. What's?
All right.
Yes, go ahead.
People can do what they want, but I'd like to see this left on the table for now until the applicants are ready to put their plan forward.
Is that a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Make a motion. Yep, make it.
Make a motion, we leave it on the table. The landowners have asked me to try to keep it on the table because they're not ready to present their plan at this time.
I'll second.
Second.
Open for discussion. Is anybody, any discussion on this matter? If there's no discussion on this matter, Lisa, could I have a roll call for keeping order number 7-2020 table, please?
Yes, Ben Twitchell,
Yes.
Gary Quirian,
Yeah.
Steve Russell,
Yes.
Patricia Ayer,
Yes.
Jeff West,
Yes.
Lee Trahan,
Yes.
and Ray Karen.
Yes.
Passes 7-0.
Old business, order number 8-2020, providing for the amendment of ordinance number 4-2002, the administration of general assistance. This is the second reading on that. Is there any discussion? If no discussion, Lisa, could we have a roll call vote, please?
It hasn't been,
Yeah.
Hasn't been brought up.
Okay.
I heard Jerry say first, and who is second?
me,
Ben?
Thank you, Ben.
yeah,
Roll call, Ben Twitchell,
yes,
Jerry Quirian,
Yeah.
Steve Russell,
Yes.
Patricia Ayer,
Yes.
Jeff West,
Yes.
Lee Trahan,
Yes.
and Ray Karen.
Yes.
Passes 7-0.
Moving on to new business, order number 25-2020, providing for the acceptance with amendments or denial of the Agricultural Commission's recommendation that Flying Pigs Farm, owned by Russell and Diane Wheeler, be accepted into the town's voluntary municipal farm support program.
So move.
second,
Discussion, and I believe that Russell and Diane are on the call right now.
We are. Hi.
You have anything you'd like to say?
No, just we moved here 25 years ago, and we've been working this as a farm ever since, and we've worked it up to the point where we're able to really start seeing it being profitable as a farm, and it's just very exciting for us.
And
It's been farm for over 200 years, as far as I know. It's a 160-year-old farmhouse.
Well, we thank you for the work. I know it's a lot of work out there. Kate,
A lot of
you're
fun too, but it is
Yeah.
a lot of work.
yeah, Kate, you're on the call too, correct?
I am on the call, and I can answer any questions anybody might have.
No, I think that the order was extremely well done. Very, the explanations were very good on it. The recommendations were very high rate. And so thank you for taking the time to filling out and,
Yeah.
Thank
Thank
the committee. They all pulled together to get that.
And
Yeah,
thank
and
you
I-
very much for offering this to farmers. I wish more people would take advantage of it. There's a number of farms in town. It would be really nice.
Yep. And Kate, this would be the second that's on this program. Is that correct?
Yes, it is. It would be the second, the Hayworth. What's his name? I can't remember his name.
Hapworth, Kevin Hapworth.
Hapworth. Thank you.
Yeah.
The Hapworth farm.
Yep. So is there any further discussion on this matter? If there is no further discussion on this matter, Lisa, could we have a roll call vote, please?
Lisa, you're quiet. You're muted.
Lisa,
I'm sorry. Ben Twitchell,
yes,
Jerry Quirian,
Yeah.
Steve Russell,
yes.
Patricia Ayer,
Yes.
Jeff West,
Yes.
Lee Trahan,
Yes.
and Ray Karen.
Yes.
Passes 7-0.
Thank you
guys
very much.
probably
Thank you all very much. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much for coming.
our pleasure.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And moving on to order number 26-2020, providing for the authorization for the town manager to proceed with expenditures for the Chaffee Brook Pump Station upgrades totaling $58,000, which is part of the $5 million project cost.
So move.
Second,
Jerry and Ben, and I believe we have one of the engineers that are working on the project tonight to speak about the cost of the $58,000.
Yes, good evening. That's me. I'm Kyle Coolidge, a wastewater engineer for Wright Pierce Engineers. And we've been helping Paul and Erica and the town with the wastewater upgrades to Chaffee Brook Pump Station and the force main across the river. Erica mentioned a couple things in her report, and I'm going to pick up from there. Assuming you're all familiar with the concept is to upgrade the pump station and, of course, the force main across the river to increase the capacity as part of the master plan, the combined sewer overflow master plan. It ties into that. We did the concept design about a year ago and developed the $5 million project budget. And so our next task, the town's next task, is to obtain grants and loans to fund the project. And so right now our eyes are focused on obtaining a funding package from rural development. And rural development being federal money, we're following the environmental review requirements for the project. Mostly in this case today it's permitting, and you all know that permitting is required for any project. But with rural development money and agency reviews, it tends to be a more rigorous environmental review process up front. So I'm going to say, just out of the gates, we don't often see $58,000 in permitting fees for a project like this. Hence the reason I offered to come and answer questions if you have any. But the majority of these fees are aimed at protecting several main things. One is wetlands is a common one. You guys all know that. Erica mentioned archaeological significant sites. We did a phase 1 survey, got a hit. I have some good news though, Erica. I don't think we are going to need to go to the phase 2. I'm waiting to confirm with a couple of people that if we can draw a line around those sensitive areas and keep our project out of those areas, we may be able to avoid that altogether. So there's to be determined on that, right? Which is great. I see the thumbs up, Paul. And then of course, in the river, a lot of the permitting costs are associated with protecting Atlantic salmon and sturgeon. So when I say protecting those species, we are starting to fall under a national Marine Fisheries and Service Endangered Species Act Section 7 review, and it's quite in depth. It's quite detailed. We have a subcontractor that is doing a bathymetric survey of the riverbed. It's taking sediment samples, and the significance of all this is that they likely will come back to the town and us to say a range of things. Ranging from we didn't find any salmon or sturgeon to there are definitely salmon and sturgeon, and it's definitely spawning habitat, and you can only do your project in river work between, say, the months of like November and December, because that creates the least impact to those endangered species. There are other permitting includes, and all of this is in the scope of work that I believe you have a copy of. So there's also a natural resources protection tier 1 individual permit, the Army Corps of Engineers permit, submerged lands lease application. So we've rolled all of these this permitting work into one agreement for you, and when we get through this in the springtime, we'll roll this all back up into the Federal Environmental Review for Rural Development, submit that to them, and then the town will obtain a loan and grant package. And we're crossing our fingers for grant next year.
Question.
Yes.
Okay. Are we looking at the river crossing to be directional bore across and no open trench?
We did look at that. So on the table, there are two main ways to get across the river. One is directional drill underneath. And that was our first go-to because it has the least environmental impact. When we investigated that, the soils in your particular area of the river are risky for a directional drill. For example, Paul and myself and some of my coworkers met with the Greater Augusta Utility District, who had just attempted a directional drill under the river down there that failed, and it cost them, several $100,000s and didn't result in any pipe. And we have similar conditions here. So we've done our homework, and now we know that the least risk and the least cost approach is to dredge across the river. So that's the approach that we're taking. We have written all that up in the preliminary engineering report, which of course you could see or read.
So Carl, I just want to go over the reason why we've been doing the Chaffee Brook project is because we had a failure in a 12-inch line. Chaffee Brook is the main pump station for the majority of sewage waste for the town of Winslow, and that pipe carries it over to the municipal waste treatment plant. That 12-inch pipe failed, and then now we're pumping through an 8-inch pipe. That during high rain periods or inclement weather periods, that a portion of the sewage is that it cannot handle the majority of the sewage at time, and that some of that sewage is being overflowed into the river.
Yes, I think going from memory, you have the gist of it is spot on, and that this upgrade, one of the major goals of this upgrade is to eliminate those combined sewer overflows by increasing the capacity in the force main. Yeah, I saw Paul shake his head. I think some of the sizes might be a little different, but you got the point of it right, and that it's all with the whole upgrade is of course to eliminate combined sewer overflows if possible, and of course some of your infrastructure is aging, so you'll be getting new pumps and generators and things like that too.
If I might, I just want to make sure that people understand that, those combined sewer overflows happen very rarely, maybe once a year. It's not like it's a very common occurrence. I want people to understand that it happens on a regular basis. We go some years we don't have any, but we still have to try to eliminate them.
What will be the size of the new pipe?
Good question. Pipes I deal with every day. The new ones are going to be 16s, I believe. And we're going to split it into two, so you'll have redundancy because that makes the most sense going forward, given the amount of effort we're going through to cross the river.
You mean you will be laying two pipes at the same time?
That's correct.
Will you use only one and have one as a spare, or will both of them be having effluents go through them?
Both of them will be in use. At this time, that's the concept, is to have both of them in use for process reasons. But we'll, of course, finish that in the final design.
Does the old one get removed?
We haven't really talked about that question. There isn't necessarily a need to remove the old one yet, at least in terms of no one has brought that up, in terms of agency review and permitting. Paul, I think we would just abandon it in place and cap it on both ends and not disturb the river bottom.
That's correct.
Right, but we haven't talked about that specifically yet.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Carl? If there's no other questions for Carl, could we have a roll call vote, Lisa, please, on order number 26 dash 2020?
Ben Twitchell.
Yes.
Jerry Quirian.
Yeah.
Steve Russell.
Yes.
Patricia Ayer.
Yes.
Jeff West.
Yes.
Lee Trahan.
Yes.
Ray Karen.
Yes.
First reading passes 7-0.
Okay.
Thank you. I'm gonna head out and say goodnight to the kids. And Paul and Erica will be in touch with you folks.
Thank you, Kyle.
Thank
Good night, everyone.
Thank you.
Is there any interest? I know Erica has an interest to get this moving just as quickly as possible for waiving of the second reading. Could we have a discussion, please, on that?
Make a motion, we do away with the second reading. Second.
So motion on the floor right now by Jeff, seconded by Lee, to waive the second reading, and discussion on that, please. Erica, do you want to comment on that?
Video back on.
Paul's actually the better person to comment on it. I just really wasn't ready to move forward with this in the spring.
Having a hard time to hear you, Erica.
Let me just ask Paul. Paul, could you comment on waiving the second reading and what that would benefit to us? If there is any benefit, I believe there is.
I believe most of these subcontractors are pretty much lined up to go. So I would think it'd be beneficial that they can hit the ground before we get too much more bad weather, and some of these processes take long as it is. So, if we lose a month, that we may be late into spring before we get the final permit. Some of these permit processes are quite long, and I would imagine with the COVID restrictions, they're probably even longer. So yeah, I think if we could move it along, it would be better.
Okay, thank you. Any other further discussion on motion for waiving the second reading on order number 26-2020? If no further discussion, Lisa, could we have a roll call vote on waiving the second reading, please?
Yes, Ben Twitchell,
Yes.
Jerry Querian,
Yes.
Steve Russell,
Yes.
Patricia Ayer,
Yes.
Jeff West. Jeff West.
Yes.
Thank you. Lee Trahan,
Yes.
Ray Karen.
Yes.
Second reading passes 7-0.
Moving on for order number 27-2020, providing for authorization for the fire chief to purchase ambulance equipment at a total cost not to exceed $70,543. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
Okay, thank you. Chief Rodriguez, could you speak on this matter, please?
Absolutely, Mr. Chairman. At the direction of the council last meeting, I went out to acquire costs associated with putting a second ambulance in service. That's what brought me to the discussion with the vendor that would provide the listed medical and transport equipment. In the discussion with the sales rep, he has offered up a substantial discount of up to 40%. And I explained to him that there has not been a commitment from the council to purchase an ambulance, and I was reluctant to bring it forward as it was. However, he said that because we're a municipality, that we could sign a rider whereby if we went ahead and approved this purchase, we have 6 months with which to return it with no penalty. So that's why I brought it forward at the request. Number one, it was at the request of the council that I investigate the costs associated with the ambulance. And number two, a second ambulance, if I can remind the council, has been part of the plan all along, that we would start with a used ambulance and substantiate the fact that it does provide a valuable service and cover its own costs, and that a backup ambulance, should the frontline ambulance go down, is necessary. So that is my comment to the order. To me, it's a win-win situation. We can secure the needed equipment at a reduced cost, we can finance that equipment over 3 years at 0% interest, which would be a payment of $23,000 a year. And if we don't, if the council chooses not to approve a second ambulance, I just tell the salesman we don't want it. We have until next fiscal year. And I might add, if I may, Mr. Chairman, my monthly report highlights year-to-date expenses that we have incurred as a result of this endeavor. And I would like to illustrate that we have significant amounts of accounts receivable that have not been compared to the expenditures that have already been spent. If you were to take the accounts receivable that we have incurred to date and add it to the receivables that we already have, we're well over $100,000 in receipts for 5 months.
Thank you, Chief, for clarifying.
What I had heard too is, if we approve the 70,000, obviously we have 6 months. Would we, so this is the first reading. We couldn't, most ordinance takes 2 readings. So we would have the next reading at the beginning of January. That would be sufficient. If we take the first reading tonight, and then would the deal still be in place if we have the second reading on January, first meeting in January?
No, sir. The salesman told me that the offer or the promotion is good until December 21st, which is why I rushed it through.
So what happens after December 21st? We pay full price?
Correct. The price goes up.
So how much of a discount are we getting in this time?
40%.
But we can still cancel the deal. We have 6 months to cancel the deal?
That's exactly right.
With 100% refund?
Yes, no penalty. To me, it's a win, it's a win-win. And I know I appreciate the indulgence of the council because I know this is a last minute issue. But I just found out about it, and it was a result of the council's direction for me to go out and acquire the cost to put another ambulance in service.
Who was it that requested that, Ronnie?
It was the chairman at the last council meeting.
Yes.
Chief, one question. Have you done any of the research on used, lease purchase, new on an ambulance itself yet?
I have done some research on the cost of a new ambulance. I have not pursued any additional analysis on purchasing a used ambulance. If we purchased a new ambulance, we always have that option of a 5-year lease purchase, which depending on is about $46,000 a year, plus or minus. That's taking a purchase price of $230 and financing it over 5 years. And I would like to also point out that the town manager did mention the fact that we are going to be selling the Rescue and the Quint, and those proceeds can be applied to the purchase of a new ambulance.
I understood.
And I want to clarify, I am not asking the council to approve the purchase of a second ambulance tonight. I think I'm trying to save the town money in the event that that discussion leads towards the purchase of a second ambulance. Of course, it's up to the council to decide.
Yep. And if I might add, Chief, thank you for the work that you've done on this subject time and time again, doing what the council wants you to do and asks you to do. And I thank you for that. And if, say, we pass the ordinance and we waive the second reading tonight, there'll be no money transferred. We could have 6 months for the money to be transferred. So we could wait till next July to actually spend the money on the equipment.
That is correct.
So even if we made a decision, the unlikely decision that a second ambulance is not needed. And I can't even fathom that anybody at this point in time would think that a second ambulance is not needed. But in case that, we would have time to come out of the deal, but we could save the money by the first and waiving the second reading tonight and pay when that decision was made on the second ambulance, which
Yes.
should be.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
How much are we losing by, how much are we actually gaining by putting the cart before the horse?
I'd have to do the math, but it's $70-some thousand at 40%. So you're looking at over $35,000, I'd say, $35,000 to $40,000.
Well, it's 70,000, half of that is 50%, and that's 35. So it's got to be less than that, right, Ron?
Yes, sir. I was just off the top of my head.
I understand.
Doing some quick math.
I understand.
We calculated it at 30% previously. I'm sorry, $30,000, not 30%.
So I'm trying to get my head around this. The purchase price then wouldn't be 70,000. The purchase price would be 40,000.
No, sir. The purchase price. I'm sorry. Through the chair, the purchase price right now is the 70,000.
Plus 30, right?
Plus 30. So by moving now, we're saving $30,000. If we were to, if the council were to approve a second ambulance without approving this purchase, it would cost us an addition. Rough numbers now, I'm speaking roughly. It would be an additional $30-some thousand for the same equipment.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that clarification.
And, wouldn't that put it up over the 100,000? So we'd have to get the public to vote on that.
No.
Anything over 100,000, I think we have to put out to the voters.
No.
But you've already voted on the program, Ben, and I think that's where that goes to. You've already, the program, the proposal that you passed already has the second ambulance in it.
Oh, it does?
Yes.
All right.
So there is no more public vote on whether we get a second ambulance or not. It's simply a question of when the council moves to move forward with it.
I didn't know that we okayed the second one. I knew we took the second one out and got the first one put through, but I didn't know we did the second one same time.
Everyone voted on that, correct?
Pardon me?
Everyone, I'm not asking you, Ben. Everyone voted on that, correct? All 7 of us?
I wasn't there for the vote, but I know that's the proposal you voted on, was that the ambulance service would start. There were going to be 2 ambulances, voted to start with the first one being the used, which was going to give you the ability, one, to get in on the ground floor with less money and show that the program was going to be viable before spending the big money on a brand new unit.
Thank you.
Okay, I think we're, is there any more discussion or any more questions for the chief at this point in time? So the first reading on order number 27-2020. If there's no further discussion, Lisa, can I have a roll call, please, for the first?
I'd like to make a motion. What the heck? Right? Can I?
Is it related to the first reading or the second reading? Because if it's the second reading, then we can pass it first, and then we can make a motion. We can make a motion after to waive the second reading.
All right.
What's your question, Ben?
Well, no, I'm just concerned that we're putting this kind of money out, and right now we aren't seeing that second ambulance right there yet, and we got a budget session coming up in another month or so.
No money will be given for this equipment unless the second ambulance, when the second ambulance is approved. So we don't have to pay for this. We don't have to put out the money until next July. By July, we would have had made, and hopefully within the next couple months, we'll make our decision on what that second ambulance would be far before we have to do the expenditures for the equipment for the second ambulance. Does that make sense?
Information are you?
I couldn't hear what you said, Trish.
I said, what information are you missing, Ben?
No, I don't know. misunderstood apparently way back when we voted after that 18-month thing for the first ambulance, because I know Steve amended the program for one ambulance. Okay, I never knew that we voted for a second ambulance. Steve, you there?
Yes, I'm not sure we voted for the second ambulance. I think we were doing it in a step-by-step process. And the first step was going to be a used ambulance so we could assess the impact of that on our citizens and on our budget. And then
True,
wait.
But we didn't actually authorize that second one.
Can't hear you, Mr. Chief.
If I can just provide a little history here, this came up at a workshop where we discussed the ambulances, and through the chair, Councilman Twitchell actually emphatically said, I want the chief and the town manager to know at the time that we leave this meeting that they have the authorization to go out and get what's necessary for 2 ambulances. And then that was later amended on the Friday night to purchase, actually we had a special council meeting the following Friday, and whereby we discussed it further. And then the formal town council meeting the following Monday, it was amended to purchase a used one first. But the authorization for the town manager and myself to go out and acquire the equipment was granted at that workshop.
I don't remember it.
That was back in May.
I don't remember it, Ronnie.
Yep. Any other further comment? If there is no further comment, Lisa, could we have a roll call vote on order 27-2020, please?
Yes. Ben Twitchell.
No.
Jerry Quarian. Jerry?
I don't see him.
Yeah, we may have lost him. Steve Russell.
Yes.
Patricia Ayer.
Yes.
Jeff West.
Do we have this in writing? That they will accept it back?
Yes, sir. I have through the chair, I have the writer and the quote. So the writer would be signed and we would be free and clear if we don't buy the ambulance. We would not be obligated and we would not be penalized.
The rider is actually included in your packets.
Okay, yes.
Lee Trahan.
Yes.
Ray Karen.
Yes.
And one more time, is Jerry still not with us? He is not. So it is 5-1 that first reading passes.
And is keeping the discussion open, is there any interest right now into, because the deal is contingent on December 21st, is there any interest right now in waiving the second reading? Would anybody make that motion?
I'd like to make a motion to skip the second hearing.
Second.
So open for discussion for the second reading, waiving the second reading on order number 27-2020. Discussion, please.
Just for a clarification for myself, I usually do not like to suspend the second reading, just as a matter of course. But I'm wrestling with this. Just to be clear, Chief, if we pass the second reading, we basically save $30,000 in round numbers.
Yes, sir.
And by not suspending the second reading, it's going to cost us $30,000 more. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
And for future reference.
Jerry's back on.
What?
Yes.
Right.
Jerry, Lisa, could you explain to Jerry what he missed the vote and he's missing on the first reading for?
Yeah, Jerry, the first reading was completed and it passed 5-1.
Well, it would have been 5-2.
So we're now getting ready to do the second reading.
Yep, we're waiving for the second reading. For the waiving, we're having discussion at this particular time on waiving the second reading for that order.
Well, if we waive the second reading, we save some money, but why not go to a second reading in January and negotiate that, because the salesman will not want to lose that sale.
It's either we save $30,000 or we don't. Pretty
I
black
think
and
we
white.
could save it even if we went another into January.
So you
for the
want to
second reading.
do you want to spend $30,000 of taxpayer money for what reason? Why do you want to wait?
That gives two new councils on board.
Oh, so you just want to wait
Okay,
for
so-
them to get on?
Yes.
That's not a legit reason.
Okay, let's continue with the discussion. I would say offhand, it should be a rarity when we, under extreme emergency conditions, is when we usually, and I think Steve's point here is valid, that, unless it's an emergency situation, normally what we try to do is not waive that second reading. It gives us, in the public, time to vet the process or the actual valid, but in this particular case, in the future, it puts the council at a strain when we have to waive that second reading because of the process. And due process, I think, is important in these matters. And so hopefully in the future that less and less of these will come. I know that there are exceptions to these rules, but when negotiating for these deals and stuff, it must be kept in mind that the council usually works and that type of, doesn't work in a, waiving the second reading unless in a very emergency situation.
Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead, Eric.
I would just like to say, again, I'm the one that usually votes against suspending the second reading. And there's two reasons I'll vote for it this time, and that's because it's going to save the taxpayers $30,000. Plus, the new council will still have 6 months to suspend the purchase of the second ambulance if that is their desire, without any penalty.
I just wanted to add that I totally agree. We don't want to be in the position of rushing the council into making a decision. When Chief brought this to me, it was, again, he only found this out as a result of looking into what the cost of a new ambulance would be. And I would not have backed him if it had not been for the fact that we can be held harmless if we don't decide to move forward with the second ambulance now. I would have had a much harder time supporting this had we been getting into a decision where we're trying to force that money just to be on the salesman's timeline. But the guarantee as a municipality that we're not held to this purchase for 6 months makes a very big difference when it comes to that kind of money. 30,000 may be a drop in the bucket for some bigger budgets for some bigger municipalities, but in this municipality, it's a significant amount of money, and that's the only reason I backed it. To Jerry's comment about negotiating, this is like negotiating with the car dealer. You get end of year deals and you see them at the end of every year, but you don't generally see those same deals during the middle of a year. It's not so much a negotiation as they're trying to move their inventory that's current year inventory. So the likelihood that we would get another 40% off deal in the near future, unless we were doing this again this time next year, is unlikely. And again, I do I do feel the council's angst when it comes to being asked to waive these second readings, and I completely agree. It just comes down to that ability to return the equipment at no cost to us, and that we don't have to pay until July, which is next fiscal year.
Any other further discussion on this matter, please? If there is no further discussion, Lisa, can I have a roll call vote, please?
Yes. Ben Twitchell,
No.
Jerry Quirian,
Yes.
Steve Russell,
Yes.
Patricia Ayer,
Yes.
Jeff West,
Yes.
Lee Trahan,
Yes.
Ray Karen.
Yes.
It passes 6-1.
Moving on, resolution number 45-2020, providing for application for a restaurant class 1, 2, 3, 4 liquor license and club catering license renewal by McCrillis Russo Post 8835
So moved.
W. Did I have a motion?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? If no discussion, Lisa, can I have a roll call vote, please, on 45-2020?
Yes. Ben Twitchell,
Yes.
Jerry Quirian,
Yes.
Steve Russell,
Yes.
Patricia Ayer,
Yes.
Jeff West,
Yes.
Lee Trahan,
Yes.
and Ray Karen.
Yes, resolution number
7-0.
46-2020, providing for authorization for the town manager to accept a $5,000 grant from Center for Tech and Civic Life for the town of Winslow Elections Administration.
So move.
Second.
Any discussion? If no discussion, Lisa, can I have a roll call vote, please?
Yes. Ben Twitchell,
Yes.
Jerry Quirian,
Yes.
Steve Russell,
Yes.
Patricia Ayer,
Yes.
Jeff West,
Yes.
Lee Trahan,
Yes.
Ray Karen.
Yes.
Passes 7-0.
And resolution 47-2020, providing for approval of application renewal for automobile graveyard junkyard permit for Randall Fredette, Babe's Garage on Frawley Street.
So moved.
So move.
Being no
Second.
discussion, can I have a roll call vote, please, Lisa?
Yes. Ben Twitchell,
Yes.
Jerry Quirian,
Yes.
Steve Russell,
Yes.
Patricia Ayer,
Yes.
Jeff West,
Yes.
Lee Trahan,
Yes.
Ray Karen.
Yes.
Passes
Resolution
7-0.
number 48-2020.
You forgot 46, Ray.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No.
At 46.
You did.
No.
Town
Authorization.
manager. To accept a grant. You didn't talk about it.
We got it.
We got it.
We passed it?
Yep.
We
Resolution
went to the-
48-2020, providing for approval of application renewal for automobile graveyard junkyard permit for
So,
Adam Penny, Iron K.
so move.
Can I have a second, please?
Second.
No discussion? Lisa, can I have a roll call vote, please?
Yes. Ben Twitchell,
Yes.
Jerry Quirian,
Yes.
Steve Russell,
Yes.
Patricia Ayer,
Yes.
Jeff West,
Yes.
Lee Trahan,
Yes.
Ray Karen.
Yes.
Passes 7-0.
And resolution number 49-220, providing for the authorization of the Public Works Director to enter into an emergency services mutual aid agreement with the city of Waterville, town of Oakland, and the town of Fairfield.
So move.
Second.
Did you get that, Lisa?
I got it.
Okay. Can I have a roll call?
Question.
Any other questions on that, please?
Who's writing the agreement? Which town? Or that would have to go to Paul.
The agreement was written by the town of Fairfield in cooperation with MMA and Bill Lee, our lawyer. So it's been vetted by all the managers.
That's all I wanted to know.
Paul, I have one question on that.
Yes.
Is there going to be any reimbursements on anybody's partner in this, or is it going to be like the fire and police?
This is all no cost to anybody. That nobody's making anything off it.
Okay, I just a curiosity question more than anything. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any further discussion? If no further discussion, Lisa, can I have a roll call vote, please?
Yes, Ben Twitchell,
Yes.
Jerry Quirian,
Yes.
Steve Russell,
Yes.
Patricia Ayer,
Yes.
Jeff West,
Yes.
Lee Trahan,
Yes.
and Ray Karen.
Yes.
Passes 7-0.
Yeah, you can almost see it.
And I know that the next order of business is discussion items in the thing, but I just want to take a minute here to recognize a few of the counselors that are ending their term in service for the town of Winslow. The first one is Steve Russell. And Steve, you know, I don't think words can express what you've meant to this council over the years. But Mike Hevener has written down a few words that I'd like to read that I think is very pertinent to your service here on the Winslow Town Council. I am writing in response to Steve Russell attending his final council meeting as a Winslow Town Councilor on December 14th, 2020. In June of this year, I retired as Winslow Town Manager after serving in that capacity for 14 years. During my time as town manager, Steve served on the Winslow Town Council. For 5 of those years, he served as council chair. The following is a summary of notable events that Steve has been involved with during his 20+ years on the Winslow Town Council. Consolidation of the public safety dispatch centers, fighting for increases in revenue sharing for many years, school management consolidation, the removal of the Fort Halifax Dam, Alcon move to Winslow, the Winslow Town Charter, Lowman Animal Health with TIF, broadcasting the town meetings on local cable TV, the Fort Halifax Master Plan, Town Council approving a CDBG grant for help with the Ryan Rope, the Town Council approval of 2,100 square feet addition to the town office, accommodate the police department. Steve has worked diligently on the Town Council, formed the Farmland Working Committee, and directed the committee to make recommendation that the town could be more farm-friendly community. The list goes on and on and on for Steve. Junior High Building Committee, a 50-year interlocal sewer agreement with the town of Vassaboro. All these things that Steve has been. There are many, many more matters addressed by the town council and Steve during his time on the council. Steve has always been open-minded and made a point to fully understand the implications of his decisions. Steve is known for his common sense and pragmatic approach to problem solving. He has been a tremendous asset to the town and has helped make Winslow a much, much better place for future generations. I am honored, and I think we all can say that we are honored to have known and worked with Town Councilor Steve Russell. And one of the
I'd have
things
to thank
we
Mike for
did
that. Those
was-
are kind words. I'm not much for making speeches, so I'm not going to, but I appreciate all the well wishes I received.
Good job, Steve.
Thank you.
And Steve, this is a plaque. We couldn't have our meeting, but we have a nice plaque for you for you know.
I appreciate that. Thank you, Ed.
Anything, but it's just something to look at in the future or something, you know. But
Yeah, we're gonna miss you, Steve.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you, Steve. I appreciate all your support.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Steve.
Steve, just because you're not on the council any longer, you're more than welcome to attend the meetings.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I got a funny feeling he's gonna be back at some point in time in the future. That's just my he can't stay away for long, that's for sure. And Patricia Rear, after 6 years, is leaving the council, and Trish has served as a town councilor for the last 6 years. Trish has strived to leverage public media sources to inform the public about matters before the town council. Trish was instrumental in utilizing Facebook to live stream town council meetings during the pandemic when town facilities were closed. In an effort to keep the public informed, she joined a local Facebook group and she posted matters related to town business. It has been a pleasure, and my pleasure also, to work with Patricia over the last 6 years. I am sure that her involvement in issues will continue and will be an asset to any organization that is fortunate to have her as a member of the organization. Trish, we thank you extremely for your service and your dedication to the town of Winslow, and we thank you for serving on the Winslow Town Council.
Thanks, Ray. I'll be back. I'm in a different district now, so everybody better watch out.
Thanks, Trish.
And
Thank you, Trish.
We've got
Thank you, Trish.
I'll drop off, or we'll somehow get your plaque to you also.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Madam Councilwoman, thank you.
Thank you, Trish.
Thank you.
Thanks, Trish.
Just maybe we want to extend public comment now longer than 2 minutes now that I'm part of the public. Just saying.
It'll be, yeah. Don't test me on the first public comment you do.
Oh, it'll be fiery, you know that for sure.
No, I know. I'm not sure I'm ready. I'm not sure the council's ready for public comment, but maybe it is. We'll and again, I can't say enough about the people that serve on the Winslow Town Council that dedicate your lives and put themselves out there, not lives, but a dedication it takes to put yourself out there and to handle the calls, which is great. And it's a great feeling to work with the citizens of the town of Winslow and to be part of resolving issues. And I'm sure all the councilors feel that way, that it's very rewarding to be a councilor and to try to do the things for the town of Winslow. Moving on to discussion items now. We'll move on to the first item is Matheson Avenue. And that will be Paul, I believe.
Yes, I brought that forward. I was approached last week by Mrs. Burns, who presently owns that street. Her husband is recently deceased, and she is kind of in a quandary what to do with that road, wondering if we would take it over as a public road. She now has to maintain it on her own. It is no longer a mainly family street. It was all Matheson family at one time. Now it's pretty much the public living in rental housing. So I told her I would bring up a discussion if it's something the town council would entertain as far as accepting that as a public street. If we do, we'll have to go through the proper channels and make sure that it's acceptable. It's definitely not going to be a full width 60-foot right of way like we do now. I mean, the land just not there, but she's willing to do what she has to do to make it acceptable, to give us a piece of land at the top for a turnaround. And that's why I brought it up. It's a council decision. I just, she's pretty distraught, didn't know what to do. So I figured the least we could do is talk about it.
Now, Paul, does the road meet town spec as far as how it's built?
I would probably say no, but we have others in town that we own from back in the mill days that are 20 feet wide, like Boston Court, that they were accepted many, many years ago, and we maintain them the best we can.
Well, I guess that's kind of where I was going with it, is, and what other properties, what others do we have in town that are in the same situation that we have taken over in the past? So
right. So
it's not like you're talking a high traffic street. So
It's not, and I went down there last week. I believe there's 5 properties on that street, so I mean, they're all taxpayers. For her right now, I guess it's a liability because she's kind of maintaining a public road because it's not family members anymore. So it's kind of still out there in the liability, I would say. So I asked her, she was speaking to her lawyer. I asked her if she could get some kind of property survey so we'd at least see what's involved with the, you know, what's laid out there as a right of way. And it's like I say, it's up to the council. It's, you know, I didn't make any promises. I just told her I'd bring it up for discussion.
And Paul, that's city sewer, city water to all 5 houses?
I believe so, yes.
And the turnaround at the end, it's a dead end street, right?
Yes, but I believe there's enough land at the end. That's why I wanted to see a property survey to see what is available that she could deed to us as part of the street so that we'd have a proper turnaround for the trash truck and the plow trucks. Chances are we'd have to plow that with one of the smaller trucks. It's not big enough to get the big trucks in, but we do that on some other streets as well.
And those other streets don't require a turnaround at the end either, do they?
No, well, we've got Oak Hill Terrace, which is off of Clinton Ave, that has a turnaround at the bottom that we built a couple years ago. We try to keep turnarounds. I hate backing out into traffic, especially on 201. Not the best.
No, absolutely. I just thinking out loud.
She pretty much committed to doing whatever she had to do to make it acceptable, and I explained to her that this was could be a lengthy process that it probably wouldn't happen this winter.
Yeah.
I mean, you would want to use your sewer inspection to inspect the sewer, any type of water inspection that you would do. I would imagine that the street hasn't been paved for a while. Is that correct?
He paved it. Her husband paved it 2 or 3 years ago. It's been fairly freshly paved. It wasn't paved before that. I don't know what condition it's in right now. It's all under the snow. So,
do you have like plans for placement of where the sewer is, where storm drainage is, and where everything is, so that you could put it together? Like, how much would it cost the town in the next 10 years to be able to take over this property?
I don't have that physical map right now. That's something that I was hoping I could get out of her, that maybe she'll pay to have it surveyed, if that's possible, to at least, you know, put it on paper what's there and what would come with the street, how much of the, you know, how wide it is and how long it is, and that type of work.
I think we would need that before,
Yes.
at least that information before we would.
Yes.
I think, you know, you need to go, I'm not telling you, I mean, it's up to Erica and you to get together to see what exactly we do need before we can make a decision on whether we take that tree and what we are accepting for liabilities with the property.
Correct. I just wanted to bring it up for discussion. If it's something the council didn't want to entertain, then the issue would have died there. If it's something you're willing to entertain, if it meets our specs, and we can, chances are it's not going to meet all the specs. It probably doesn't have the amount of gravel we would put in a new street, but I'm going to say most of our existing street that were built 50 years ago probably don't meet those specifications either. So
I guess I don't have any problem with continuing the process and finding the information so that at some point in time in the future, you could inform the council as to, you know, where everything is and what the condition of sewer water and the actual grade is, and if the possibility of heating the road section over at the end for a turnaround.
yes, that's fine. We'll keep working forward. I just wanted to have some feeling from the council. If
Does the council feel that we should move forward with Paul gathering information?
No problem here.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Go ahead.
Okay, so move ahead, Paul, and sometime in the spring, come back to us.
No, we'll work on it this winter until, like I say, she's in the process of talking to her lawyer. I believe he hasn't been deceased for more than a couple of weeks, so I'm sure there's a lot of paperwork that will have to be done on her part. And
okay, so. Okay, sounds good. Erica, you have anything else on the Matheson Avenue area? Okay, moving on to thank you, Paul. Moving on to the second discussion item, the church bell. Jerry brought this up. Jerry, would you like to comment on the church bell issue?
Right. The church bell is the bell from the East Winslow Baptist Church. the town 6-8 years ago had to go in and tear down the church, and we picked up the bell and brought it over to Public Works. The bell was donated to the church. I can't remember the name of, but it's the ones that own, what do you call it? Oh, Bees Diner. And they would like to get that bell back. They say that they have a deed or right to it. They want to put it on their property and allow people to come and visit it a couple of hours a week or 1 hour a week. Big problem. The thing I have is they had talked to Mike Hefner. Mike didn't have a problem giving him the bell, then it got changed. So the question is who's going to own the bell? Do they have legal rights to the bell? They are going to get that information and bring it to, provide it to probably the town manager at a later date. And I think they told me that it's registered at the Registry of Deeds. Not sure about that.
Okay, one of the things that when I had saw that's on the agenda about the bell was being stored at the Public Works. I gave Paul and Jerry a call, and we have moved the bell in the assembly of the bell to the cold storage building in at the Public Works Department, so that it's in a place where it's a lot less affected by the elements. And the bell is actually from it's called the CS Bell Company from, I believe it's Holbrook, Ohio, which was manufactured between 1894 and 1970. Obviously, this is an older of the bell of the research. So I think that, you know, whatever the people from the area, if they feel they have a right to the bell, then come and talk to the town manager, and you know, at least it's in a secure place where it's out of the elements at the present time. Anybody have any other, Jerry, do you have any other things to say about it?
If I could, it's in Ben's district, it's not in mine. The only reason is because they see me an awful lot at the restaurant. That's why I ended up with it.
Jeff West, go ahead.
Yeah, it's the Sylvesters, and the gentleman is part of the original Abbott family. And the Abbott family built that church, from what I gather. And he basically wants to do what they've done over in Waterville, over St. Francis, with the old bell from that church, have it enclosed. He actually wants to put it on his front lawn by the sounds of it. So that just because it's the history of his family, and he'd like the bell back, which to me, if he can prove he's part of that family, what are we going to do with that bell other than store it? But that's just my opinion.
Yep, sure. Well, we'd like, I think the first thing is to get the people involved that, you know, wanted to come into the town manager and talk to the town manager about the issue.
Oh, I mean, yeah, I think they need to have some proof of, you know, the lineage of it. But you know, if that's the case,
that's what they want to do, is give us proof that the bell belongs to them.
That's fine.
And that's fine.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, yeah, sounds great. Anything else about the church bell, Jerry, or anything? Or
no, that's it.
Okay. Next, item on the NLC service line. We both got, we all got that in packages and stuff. Erica, do you want to talk about that a little bit?
It's kind of a sales pitch, but at the same time, it's an opportunity for us to earn some limited additional revenue at pretty much no effort on our part. The NLC service line program, it's basically like a homeowner's warranty, but it's specifically for your water lines and your sewer lines running from the street to the house. People a lot of times don't realize that those are actually the homeowner's responsibility. And this company indemnifies them against that. So homeowners can purchase policies that will cover those lines specifically, and they only have to pay a set amount no matter what the claim comes out to be. So I believe they said on sewer lines it's something like $3,000 per incident is covered. Water lines, a different amount. And I don't remember the exacts on that, but the way the program works is they work through municipalities in partnership, basically because we've got all the information on all the homeowners that are on our services. They do use the city or the town seal in our case, and we approve any communications before they send them out. It's a direct mail program. They send the flyers to all the homes with the town seal on it, asking people if they're interested at all in looking into this program, explaining that they do have liability over those lines, and any policies that are purchased, the town earns 50 cents per month per policy, and each home could have up to 3 policies. I'm just looking to see if there's any interest in looking at that any further or having them do a presentation for us at some point. I don't think we're talking a lot of money, but you know, any opportunity for extra revenue is something that I'm gonna at least check into, but I've already had my preliminary discussion. So now I'm just looking to see if the council has any interest in looking at it any further.
Erica, I just have one question to that. Would they be willing to give you a community that they're already doing it in that you could get in contact with and see if
he said there's only one in Maine right now, but he's got a lot of, they've got over 400 communities countrywide. So yes, he will give me some others. Currently they're working with Portland, and I believe it's their water district that they're currently working with.
And my only issue would be is if they're not really up to snuff and not paying out what they say they're going to pay out. And I think we could find that out from another municipality that's actually doing it with them.
Right. I believe you. I agree. We could probably get that from them. So I could certainly ask him to provide some other references in addition to town of Portland.
And that stuff is not covered on it's not covered on like a homeowner's policy or something.
No, most homeowners policies do not cover those lines. They're not part of the they're one of those things that I don't know if you could get it on your homeowner's policy or not. I'd have to research that further. I know I personally had to have a policy in Lansing because my insurance would not indemnify it because the pipes were very old. So I couldn't get the rider on my insurance. And fortunately, I never had to use it, but it was one of those things that in a community with old pipes, as a homeowner, it's just a piece of insurance. Now, again, it all depends on whether anybody even purchases it as to whether there'd be anything in it for us. But I do agree with Councilor West that we would definitely want to make sure that they've got a good reputation because we wouldn't want to put our seal on something and then turn around and have it be a company that people fight with to get paid out after they paid for the policy.
So you'll reach out and do some diligence on.
I will.
Erica.
If I get positive reports, would you all have an interest in them doing a presentation at a later council meeting?
Absolutely.
Yes.
So, Erica, is this policy from the main to the property?
It's from the curb to the property.
Basically,
they sell the policy on the exterior lines. They'll also sell, the third policy is on the interior plumbing. And people can purchase any one or all three, any combination.
so I know that DOT on state highways says that the utility is responsible from the main to the right-of-way line.
Correct. These policies cover from that point on to the home.
From the right-of-way line on.
Yes, which we're loosely calling the curb.
Yeah, I wouldn't have a problem with them trying to give us a presentation at a later date.
Okay.
The next item on the agenda is the facility committee, and Erica, could you go over?
Sure. So at our last meeting, when I had brought up wanting to look at facilities going down the road, we talked, I was tasked with trying to pull together a committee for that. One thing I wanted to reiterate, we're at kind of mission critical with the fire station, but not with the rest of the facilities. I do want to look at all the facilities as a package, because when you look at facilities, it should be a 10 to 20 year plan. And that's why I want to look at it all at once. I think some people may have thought I was talking about building something immediately. I'm not, but if we're talking about having to purchase land to do this in the future, we probably want to look at an all-encompassing package and with an eye towards future expansion. For instance, when we built the Public Works building, personally, I would have liked to have seen us have, thought down the road that, hey, maybe it would be good to put a fire station near here, or that's maybe where a police station should go. Those are the kinds of things I want to investigate. And this, again, it's a long-term project. When I worked courthouse expansion in Chesterfield, that was a 25-year project. So I just want everybody to understand, we're looking to put together a facilities plan that goes into the future, not necessarily 5 years from now, although fire is something that we're going to need to look at sooner. So in talking to people who have expressed an interest in being on that committee, Jeff, you had said you wanted to be on that committee.
I would love to.
Thank you. Rocky, you had also agreed to be on that committee, and you're not officially in your counselor capacity yet, but I had reached out to you. And Peter Drapo, of course, Chief McDade and Chief Rodriguez representing the two critical infrastructure pieces on the public safety side, and Lynn Choate for the planning board. And then I would make number 7, which gives us an odd number.
Sounds like fun.
Any other comment or discussion?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Not quite yet, please. One of the things that we also, it's not on, I wanted to bring up is junior high building is at the last meeting or the meeting before, we had mentioned that we need to form the junior high committee for the use of the junior high school. KB Cap has come up with a proposal for the junior high school, and we need to investigate that during the winter months. I know there was some interest that Mike Hebener would chair that committee, and I think he has agreed, Erica, to do that.
Yes, he has.
Yep. So we'd be looking for members. Is there any other? I think Steve, you had mentioned an interest to be on that committee.
Yes, I would be interested. Yes.
Okay. Steve, any other counselors?
I'd like that one too, if I can.
Yep, Jeff. Any other counselors?
Yes, Jerry.
Jerry?
Because there is already a committee.
That
That's been around for a while. We'd have to dissolve that one.
Yep.
Because there's a lot of us on that committee in the beginning. Because I was
right.
So would the council want to dissolve that committee and then form a new committee, and then any of the public that wants to be on committee would call the town office and put their name in for that committee?
Is there a reason to dissolve the first one? Nobody left that was on it.
I think we can invite the members of that committee that want to be on the committee to be on this committee if they want to.
Yeah, because we spent a lot of time on that one.
Yep.
We don't want to dissolve a committee and have that one go, and then tell them at the end that, sorry, we don't want you.
Ray, wasn't that committee dissolved after one of the meetings where they got really heated?
Not that one.
Not that one.
I thought it was only suspended because of COVID, because having to go back to actually use that building. I mean, and I'm coming in on the back end, so all I've heard is scuttlebutt about that, but I know Mike was talking about getting it going again. It's one of the things he talked to me about when he came in. I'm not exactly sure why we would need a new committee, but again, I'm coming in on the back end of this, so I'm not sure.
I don't believe we need a new committee. We might have to have some other people where some of the other ones have left, and just, find out how many. I think there was about, what, 12, 14 on that committee?
There was about a dozen of us, Jerry.
Yeah.
Who was the chair?
Oh, try to remember.
He was an old assistant superintendent. He sells real estate.
I'm trying.
Can't think of his name.
Cassidy. Off the top of my head.
Cassidy, maybe?
Cassidy, yes, it was. Thank
Cassidy,
you.
that's good.
Yeah. Thank you.
Well, right now, during the winter, obviously, the sixth grade is using the facility and it's being heated and utilized at this point in time. So this winter wasn't an issue. Next winter, depending on, hopefully, we need, KV campus is going to wait forever. And there's definitely some issues associated with the building and certain portions of the building that have to be resolved in a period of time.
Daycare is also using it out there, right?
What's that? Yeah, childcare is also using that. Obviously, to tear down the building, we're talking about $700,000 plus. It could be up to $1 million something because of the asbestos removal. And I think we need to get a committee formed and to pick up the pieces of the last committee. I'm for anybody that wants to be on that committee to be on the committee, but a small working group has to push forward with identifying the issues and identifying some resolutions to the issue that can be brought to the council before the summer. So I don't want to see this waiting till next fall again when the
we don't.
Empty, and we're gonna have to spend some money to demolish the building. KV Cap's not gonna wait forever, so I'm for forming whatever we can to get this committee moving just as fast as we can and resolving some of the issues that's pertaining to that building.
The last meeting we had, they hadn't even got the financing yet, right? KV Cap did not actually get the financing. They were still working with the historical stuff. So
That's all been resolved. That's why I think we need to have a committee to bring even the council up to date on the issues and where we stand with that junior high building and what some of the problems are that we need to resolve to make sure that the third parties that are associated with the facility are vetted and are examined. And that's why I think we need to get moving on it. And I think that Mike, we can start and through Mike and Erica and Steve, is that we can ask the old members of the committee to come in, but form a newer
they
committee.
can't see me.
The old members to
got
move this
video off.
project forward.
I do have Mike's folder here. And on the top of the folder, there's a list of former members, which is Ben Twitchell, Gary Owen, Jack Nivison, Jerry Quirion, John Cassidy, John Ferry, Kenneth Fletcher, Robette Bouchard, Sally Harwood, and Shelley Phillips. Does that sound right?
Yes, it
Sounds
does.
right.
Yeah.
So it's not a huge thick file, but there's a lot of stuff in here.
I think the
So
key is,
certainly we wouldn't be starting from scratch.
yeah, I think the key is going to be to get Mike
So
on
why
that
don't we,
committee
why don't
because
we
he's
get
been
together,
involved
uh,
right from the
we'll talk
beginning,
to Mike,
including with the
and we'll
negotiations.
invite the
So,
members to, that are still interested in forming the committee, and then we'll move from there in the next couple of weeks. How's that?
We could do that. I do have to do budget at some point.
Yeah. Well, this is not gonna be your thing. This is a lot of people have some expertise in this area that we've worked with before.
Actually,
It's gonna be continuing the process to, this
Actually-
junior high building is a critical building because budget-wise, we might not have the budget for the demolition of the building this term, but we will have to address that issue maybe the next year or even toward this year. If we have to put 500,000 for demolition this year and maybe 500,000 next year, then those are issues that do pertain to the budget to some extent.
Right.
Okay.
Actually,
Any other discussion on the forming of the junior high building committee?
Just one thing.
well, I was gonna say yes. One of the things, it wouldn't take that long to set up a meeting for the original committee.
We will invite everybody from the original committee. Yes, we will.
Meeting in January.
Yep.
She starts reforming, setting up another committee. They'll want to start back from maybe the beginning, and that's not a good thing.
No, I don't think anyone's advocating that, Jerry.
Ray, if there's room, I'd like to be added to that committee, please.
I think there's room for everybody.
Oh,
Thank you.
yes.
Yep. I think we'll invite all the members to a meeting and we'll see what happens after that sometime in January.
Sounds good.
Okay. Any other discussion? Does there somebody want to make a motion to adjourn?
Hey,
Second.
happy holidays to everyone.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
You too.
Merry Christmas.
Merry
Thank you.
Christmas.